Well, we're so excited to have in our presence President Donald Ramotar. As you know, he's the president of Guyana, and this is our president's very first official visit to America as president of Guyana. And that's certainly very exciting momentum for you, I'm sure. Well, as I know, your visit here was to address the United Nations at their General Assembly, particularly as it pertains to world economy. Now, in your address, you stated that you didn't feel that the UN was doing enough for the developing countries. What's the reason for your perspective?
Well, not only the UN I was speaking about, I think mainly about the developed countries and some of the international organizations in which the developed countries have more influence on. In fact, I think the UN is probably the only institution in which the third world countries like ours got an opportunity to be heard in some ways. And I was speaking not on behalf of Guyana this time, but more on behalf of CARICOM.
Right.
Pointing out that although CARICOM has made a lot of progress over the years, and many of them have reached this status of medium income developing countries, and they have moved out from the low income countries. But now with the crisis that is affecting them very seriously, and many CARICOM countries, they don't have the possibility of changing, of much alternative. So they're suffering, and our argument was that they should be treated with some type of priority before they slip back into a bad situation. And I also tried to point out that a prosperous Caribbean, or a prosperous Africa for that matter, would be beneficial to the United States, Europe, and the developed world as well. So that was more or less the kind of line that I took at this meeting at the UN.
Now, as new president of Ghana, what has your relations been with the neighboring countries? Have you been getting the cooperation where there is no gap in that continued relationship?
Well, you know, the relationship has been very good with our neighbors. I went to Suriname on an official visit, and I went there a second time to meet the CARICOM heads of government. I haven't had the opportunity yet to go to, I'm going very soon to Brazil, and then I want to go to Venezuela too, but you know, at the moment they have their elections campaign and they're quite busy at this point in time. So I'll see when it's opportune for me to go there to strengthen our relationship with our neighboring countries.
Beautiful. And as I mentioned to you earlier, I think it's important that we have a symposium of some sort with the youths here in New York, in America. They're very smart young people coming up in world politics, and I think you having a dialogue with the youths, the Guyanese youths here, I think that would be a wonderful idea. What are your feelings on that?
I agree with you. I think it's a wonderful idea because now with globalization that has taken place and the world becoming closer closer together, and we have a big diaspora outside of our country, and I think it's time we start thinking about how the diaspora can be part of the total development of the country. And that is why a symposium that you were suggesting will be very, very good in that regard. Because the good thing about Guyanese living outside, that they have not forgotten Guyana, that they have done a lot. Every day you can come to a different village day they contribute to the schools and so. And therefore, I think that that we can deepen that relations. Already I have established a section in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs looking at diaspora issues to see how we can work with the diaspora, give them information, because I know there's a lot of disinformation around. And also those who want to invest so that they can know what possibilities we have. And to encourage them generally to know Guyana better, to come and see the country. And so.
Well, the next time you come, you'll let me know ahead of time, and we'll absolutely arrange a symposium for the youths, the Guyanese youths here, to have a forum with President Donald Ramotar. And I think that would be tremendous.
Yeah, that would be great.
Now, specifically, President Ramotar, I really wanted to conduct this interview on a very serious note to really address significant budget cuts that have taken place Guyana, where there's going to be a negative transformation within the country. The budget cuts were about $20 billion, correct?
Almost
$21 billion. Can you tell the Guyanese diaspora here specifically how tremendous that will affect the Guyanese people?
Well, it will have a big impact. We are trying to work to minimize that impact. But there will be an impact. For instance, immediately, they've cut $1 billion from electricity subsidy.
Right.
And that was a subsidy put there for the electricity so that we would not have to raise rates on people who are there. So the
population is already struggling
yeah,
as it is.
so we would like not to have raised rates. And because it's not because of anything with the inefficiency of the power company, but because of the price of fuel. And we've done everything. We're now putting in a new line to save energy losses, line losses. We have converted all the engines that generate electricity to the cheapest fuel that is available. Yet the price of fuel keeps skyrocketing. And also to try to stem that, we have put in this subsidy. So they've cut that. They've also cut some of the very important programs that we have in developing our country, because we believe that we have to give people equal opportunity.
Right.
And that's why the government took the decision, even before I became president, that we will give every family in our country who cannot afford a laptop computer, that we will give them a laptop computer. And that program has been cut as well. We have also decided that many of the people who live in the interior area who cannot be connected to the grid to get electricity, that we were working towards giving them solar panels, solar electricity. That program has been cut. We talk about fighting drugs in our country. $20 million from the TANUJA, which is the arm of the law enforcement agency fighting drugs, that too has been cut. Everybody speak about our country being a multi-ethnic country in which we try to have good race relation, good ethnic relations. We set up an Ethnic Relations Commission. I think that they have been doing a good job because of the fact that we had 2 elections that were very peaceful. They've cut all the money from the Ethnic Relations Commission. They've cut money from GINA. Every country in the world, government has an agency that gives out information about government, what government is doing, work government is doing. This has nothing to do with balance.
And may I add that this is the agency where our community here in New York gets to see the news every week because of the GINA agency.
So that has been cut. We also have the NCN, which is the government's own television station, that has been cut. One of the excuses they use about cutting NCN, they say that they don't get enough coverage on NCN. But we have been inviting them to come to NCN to have real debates with us, but they have been so far refusing to come to have those debates with us at this point in time. So those are some of the areas that they have cut also. What will also be affected is our Amila Fall project, where we want to bring electricity, hydropower, renewable energy, where we will not be burning fossil fuel. And to have cheap energy, they have cut that program as well.
And if all went well, this project would have been completed in a few years, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah. We still have to conclude the arrangement, but we have to put it in the budget now for that to happen. They've cut money from the Elections Commission as well. We have put money in there to hold local government elections this year. They cut a significant amount of money off of the Elections Commission as well. So those, of course, those things, we're still trying to minimize the impact of it, but it will cause jobs. A lot of people will suffer. They claim that they cut the government jobs where they were contract workers, and they're trying to give the impression that the contract workers are super salaried people, which is totally not true, because you saw when they did that, a lot of workers came out to protest.
Yes. And
these were drivers, these were maids, these were cleaners. These were ordinary working people, generally within the society. So we have to be battling with that at this point in time. Well, we will see what will happen, because we're working politically. I think people in Guyana are very upset that the AFC has joined with the APNU to do this deed that will not promote the development of our country, but actually will retard the development of Guyana.
Yes, absolutely. Now, with the budget cuts, this has really presented a significant shortfall to the entire nation of Guyana. Are you confident that the PPP civic government would be able to somehow appeal this entire budget cut process and continue the further development of the country?
Well, of course, I think that our country will continue to move forward because we're having good investments in our society. Very soon, next year, the manganese company will come into commercial operation. Some other gold mining companies will come into operation. We're looking towards diversification in agriculture and some more large-scale agriculture.
So all these avenues will create
So all of
jobs.
these areas will create jobs. We're working towards that, we hope. But of course, there will be a lapse in time with some of these things coming on stream
For transitions,
to absorb
right?
some of these people that will have to be probably laid off from jobs. Yeah.
Now let's touch a little bit about the crime situation again and the drug trafficking. Now that you have taken office, what are you going to be doing differently to curtail these drug lords and the trafficking of drugs into Guyana?
Well, you know that we have raised with the United States. We believe that this problem is not only a Guyana's problem, but this is a regional problem and this is a global problem. And therefore, for us to successfully tackle it, there needs to be regional cooperation and there needs to be global cooperation. I have raised with the United States, even on this visit that I was in Washington for some days, I raised the issue of working closer with the DEA. And I even invited the DEA to set up an office in Guyana so that we can coordinate our activities. Because after all, the United States is the biggest market, and Europe. Europe and the United States is the big market for drugs. And the demand for drugs in these societies is what is driving the production in some other countries, like Colombia and these places. And when the DEA put pressure on some of these countries, the drug people look for different routes in bringing it. So Guyana and the Caribbean, we are more transshipment point. But it also has an impact on us because some of the drugs is affecting our people there. It's distorting things within our country. And it's in all of us, our interests to fight against this. Therefore, I think we need to have the cooperation to do so.
Now with the budget cuts to TANUJA, though,
Well, the
this
budget,
will
yeah, well,
affect
of
the
course,
progress.
that is criminal on the part of the AFC and the APNU, PNC, to do that cut because very, very clearly, although KANU has limited resources, they have had significant successes in recent time. So we will see. We will try to see how we can work to minimize the impact of that in the fight against
So as
crime.
president, would you say confidently that you will do whatever it takes to bring about further changes?
Sure, sure. And we're trying to link. We're already trying to link closer with the other law enforcement office agencies in the Caribbean, and try to work to try to deal with these issues.
Now, in speaking to the young people out there, the young Guyanese, whether they reside in Guyana or whether they reside here in North America, what is it you would like to say to the young upcoming professionals within our diaspora?
Well, I would say that I think our country has a very, very bright future ahead of it. Nowadays, distances have changed with communications and science and technology generally. I think young people should also have a second look at Guyana to see if they can realize much of their dreams that they would have had. Because I think, although we can't compete with the United States and the developed countries in questions of salaries, but I think in our country you will become a builder in our country. In these countries, many of our people, highly qualified, very well developed, are only cogs in the wheel. So I think maybe if they look very closely and they can find a role for themselves in Guyana, maybe they will have greater satisfaction in building a society up to catch up with the rest of the world in this regard.
Now you mentioned it within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you set up a department there to attract folks who want to come to Ghana to invest or to seek employment in government agencies. Do you know that information offhand that you can share with our viewers?
Well, I don't have it offhand, but we have these centers. What we wanted to do is to equip our offices outside with all the information so that anyone who wants information can go to an embassy or to an office that we have with the information that they can get information about.
Because there are a lot
what
of young
possibilities
people
that they have
do want
here.
to come back and do some internships and
Yeah.
volunteerism and,
Yeah, even professors, we think many of them can do their sabbatical at home.
Right.
In Guyana, at the University of Guyana and so forth, So I think we have a lot of possibility and a lot of area we can work. We are also studying the experiences of Mexico, how they work with their diaspora, and Jamaica and these other different places to see how we can create policies and create mechanisms to encourage greater participation of the diaspora in the development of Guyana.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I know that the government is actually putting in a lot of revenue into the tourism sector of Guyana. Recently, I've read that over $200 million will be actually allotted to tourism, specifically ecotourism.
Yeah. Well, it's a fairly new industry for us because
We've gotten a lot of publicity recently.
Yes, recently, and Guyana was one of the best kept secrets as far as tourism was concerned. Now more and more people are knowing about the fantastic tourist product that we have. But what we wanted to do was to tie it in more and closely with community type of tourism within the country so that the community will benefit from the tourists. So that's why we were encouraged. For instance, I was in the south of the country, in the Kamu Falls. There's a lot of beautiful falls there. And the community have come together to offer guides and offer different things, trekking through the mountains and the falls and so forth, so that the community will benefit. So I think we're trying to learn from the experience of other places where you set up big transnational companies and then the community hardly get anything from this. So we're trying to change the model a bit so that the people in the areas and in the country can benefit directly.
Yes, I think that's a very effective strategy in really helping local people to increase their revenues and have a better standard of living.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Now, is there anything specific that you'd like to convey to the Guyanese diaspora at large here?
Well, I know for a fact that there's a lot of negative propaganda that has been coming out of our country. The two big newspapers are not independent papers as they try to portray themselves, but they're more opposition type of newspapers. And a lot of the news that they get out here, they're absolutely distorted or sometimes even downright misleading and lies that are being put. So I want to encourage Guyanese to go and see for yourself. It's always better to see one time for yourself than to hear 1,000 times from others about what things are. So I think that's the most effective way, I would say, for them to see, because the agenda, the political agenda that some of these media that they have, they are not necessarily in the interest of their country, but they're pursuing narrow political agendas. So come and see what we're doing in Guyana, see how the country is changing, see how we're transforming our country, and make a judgment firsthand than from these opposition papers.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to add, President Ramotar, that the Guyanese diaspora here in North America is extremely powerful, and with our collaboration with the continued development of Guyana and really giving you that support, I think that would be tremendous. And as you mentioned, the propaganda is out there, and we need to take everything with a grain of salt that we're reading, we're hearing.
Yeah. Let me also take the opportunity, since it's my first visit here, to thank all those who supported us and who supported the PPP civil government, and to let you know that we still need that support. We need you to educate yourself of what is really happening in Guyana so that you can counter many of the lies and distortion that emanate from within the country. But first of all, most importantly, I want to take this opportunity to extend a big thank you to all of you for your support and your help and to say that we are going to try to ensure that your confidence was not misplaced.
Well, I have a lot of confidence in you, President Ramotar. I think you are making a tremendous difference and an impact to the Guyanese people, and I'm very thankful that you and I have a wonderful working relationship and that we can help you to spread the good news here across North America through our TV programs. We want to see Guyanese succeed. We want to see our beautiful homeland to be prosperous, and you know, having that wonderful interaction with you so that you can convey you know, the continuous updates with our community. I think that's very important. And I know your schedule is very busy.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
But thank you for making the time to be with us.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
For having me.
Yes, absolutely, always.
Okay.
Great.